We've got a real kerfuffle unfolding in the heart of Dorado County. Picture it. Vineyards as far as the eye can see, a little slice of Napa with a twist of reefer madness. That's right, the local wine maestros, led by Randy Rossi, the Pied Piper of Pinot over at Saludi Cellars, are up in arms. And they're not just stomping grapes these days, they're stomping their feet over the green wave of cannabis farms rolling in. For 25 big ones, Rossi's been the ringleader of grapes greatness at the Fair Play American viticulture area. It's like being knighted by the wine gods with a whole lot more paperwork. You have to petition the federal government to recognize it, Rossi said, and you have to have certain characteristics in your soil, climate, even cultural considerations are given. But now there's a new crop on the block. 7 acres of cannabis, greener than the Emerald City, has got the green light down on Perry. Rossi and his vino virtuosos are seeing red, and it's not from the wine. Their beef? Well, they say it's the water, but let's cut through the Cabernet, shall we? These grapes gurus claim that cannabis crops are guzzling H2O like it's going out of style. Rossi says, that's a huge number for us, and we're going to fight this. But here's the kicker. Yours truly did a little digging, and I found a study from just 2 years ago by San Luis Obispo County saying, hold your horses. Turns out a gallon of the good grape juice might just be the real Aquaman in this kale, out sloshing cannabis by leagues. It says 1 pound of cannabis takes about 150 gallons of water, or without equals about 10.58 cups of water for a 2-gram joint, while a gallon of wine needs a tidal wave of 870 gallons. That's like 54 gallons for your crappy 8-ounce Merlot. So what gives? If the grapevine's drinking more than the ganja, why all the hullabaloo? Chris Perry, Dorado County's Assistant Director of Planning, assures us that there's more scrutiny here than a high school dance chaperone. Everything gets multiple sets of eyes. In fact, when a project application comes in, it receives what we call an agency review. He says this about their process, but Rossi's not having it. This has to be revisited, Rossi asserts. We're one of 2 of the county's primary agricultural sectors, and we won't back down. Get ready for number 3, moving on in. Is this just the old guard getting skittish about the new kids on the crop? Maybe it's time for vineyard veterans and cannabis cadets to join forces instead of tossing around water woe tales. Imagine a world where Pinot meets pot and a beautiful, sustainable tango. That's a pairing that I would toast to. In the end, maybe it's not about Merlot versus marijuana. Maybe it's about finding a groovy groove where both can jive sustainably. Because let's face it, in the battle of the bud, whether it be grape or grass, the only real loser is an empty bowl or a dry glass. I'm Stone Slade. Thank you for getting high and nine with me.
Yarrow, I want to hear your comments on this one, man.
Yeah, I stuck around
just to deal with this.
Yeah, I stuck around just because I had to, because Stone brings choice content, even though I do need to do the Irish goodbye. So, in certain communities, agricultural communities with a history of both vineyard production and cannabis production, such as Sonoma County, but not just Sonoma County, we've been having wine and weed symposiums going back probably 8 or 9 years, because we recognize this natural overlap when it comes to land use, labor, zoning considerations, highly restricted industries, as well as the fact that they pair really, really well. And so first, the grape growers were afraid that the terpenes from the cannabis were going to mess up the flavor of their grapes. And then there became this call about the water usage, because especially in California, who isn't concerned about the ongoing intermittent droughts that we have and the impact that has on all rural communities? And what we found, at least in Sonoma County, was number one, cannabis was the largest cash crop of the county, irrespective of the number of acres planted. And that was like, they didn't even want to brag about it. They put it as an asterisk at the bottom. And then number two, even though cannabis used more water per acre than grapes, the cash flow that waterfalled, all pun intended because it's dad joke Tuesday, the cash flow that waterfalled on a per acre basis from grapes was much higher than if you grew some Pinot. And so if you boil it down to $1 per milliliter of water usage, cannabis is a better use of water in terms of the income that it produces for farmers. And that doesn't take into account what we talked about yesterday about dry farming and other techniques. So I think that winery people in general are either totally on board and they get it and they're like, look, Coppola did his collab. I want to get into the cannabis space. I already have a great farming crew. Or they're sour grapes.
Give this man a hat clap.
Finishes with a pun.
This guy, cute, Yarrow. Very, very cute. Well, I mean, I'm not buying the whole water shortage argument. What we actually have is a lack of critical infrastructure to hold all of the water that we actually get, because we dumped a bunch of water into the ocean recently after our big downpour that we had just a couple of months ago. So I'm not buying this whole thing that we have a whole big water shortage. I'm not buying that.
Hold on. You're going directly against your favorite president's words, where he said the exact opposite.
I'm just telling you, I just because I'm going, that doesn't matter. You know what I'm saying? He can be wrong too.
What did you say?
Right.
Yeah.
All right.
Straight up.
I told y'all, man. I told y'all Joe Biden is emerged as the pro-cannabis candidate, and Jason is slowly turning to
Let's go, Sage.
Stop the cap, bro. Stop the cap. I'm Trump all day, bro. You guys are tripping. You guys are tripping. No, not a chance. But here's the thing: is now this article makes me think that this is why there's so many industries against cannabis. This article is exactly why there's so many industries against cannabis, is because they are all worried about the resources that they are getting, because they are over exorbitant in supply as far as what they are taking of the resources. And once cannabis is, and just like Yarrow had stated, is a better use of resources for what you get out of it, a lot of these industries are going to die and go away, and they are worried about that. And this proves that.
Yeah, I'm glad they can't get mad about sunlight, because they'll be like, "Oh, the cannabis guys are taking more sunshine." Man.
Right.
I mean, they do. They do that with us with the electricity, trying to say that it's all bullshit.
Just don't want the competition in the marketplace.
Exactly.
They know the consumer rather smoke weed than drink wine. There's a big shift happening against alcohol and for weed, and they're nervous and they're scared, and they're going to any avenue they can to try to prevent it.
Yep.
Meanwhile, Budweiser has the biggest.
Haters gonna hate.
Yep.
That's right.
And Budweiser's not even an American company anymore.
Ooh-wee.
It's a Belgium company.
They own the
They're about as that's why they're not number one, right, Jason?
That's not why you're talking about Bud Light, and shout out to Modelo, the number one beer in America.
Shout out to Mexican beer. That's it.
That's the number one beer in America.
I mean, it is Taco Tuesday, Rico. I don't understand what the hostility is all about today, man.
I say no twice, and I will chug me a Dos Equis, baby.
Well,
keep this party going, man.
we're gonna keep this.